Welcome to Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. On behalf of both Arlington Street and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading, welcome to the ordination of Elizabeth Louise Weber. The act of ordination confers the authority of religious leadership, the title of Reverend, and the privilege to wear a very stylish stole. As Unitarian Universalists, we are part of a tradition that is at least 370 years old. It is our congregations that confer ordination, and it is a meaningful and joyous occasion when congregations join together to recognize one who has chosen and been chosen for ministry as her life's work. Liz was a lay leader at Arlington Street for a decade before starting seminary, and we have been her home church as she has moved down the path towards this special day. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading was the congregation where Liz served as ministerial intern, her teaching congregation. Both congregations have been with Liz on a part of her journey, and both affirm her calling. Both have shaped her ministry, and both are gathered here today to set her apart as an ordained minister. As we get started with this beautiful ceremony, I remind you to please be sure your phones are in worship mode. And Liz has asked me to make sure you are aware that you are all welcome at the reception following the ceremony downstairs in the parish hall. You can reach the parish hall via the stairs at the back left of the sanctuary or by a lift located through the leather door to the right of the pulpit. Now, let us begin. Please rise and body your spirit.
For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars and light, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sibling, neighbor, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all to thee we raise this our hymn, our grateful praise.
Thanks, Mark. From the time you were a tiny child, we've watched with wonder and delight as you have developed your gifts for ministry. This robe is a sign of your intention to use your gifts to bless the world. May the donning of this vestment remind you today and always, that you are taking your place in the living tradition of ministry that reaches back through generations and forward into lifetimes to come. May you wear this robe with faith and honor, with compassion and commitment, bringing comfort and justice in all of your works. As you bless the world, may you also be greatly blessed.
Holy One, Spirit of life and of love, you who have loved us into being, into this moment, you who are here with us now, in each moment and in this moment, let us come fully into this moment of joy, of celebration, of gratitude, of ministry, of calling. We call into the room all those who have nurtured us on the journey to this day. Ancestors, parents, siblings, friends, mentors, partners, companions, and those especially who have loved and called Liz and her ministry into being. We bring into the sanctuary and our service today all those in whom we have encountered the holy. We especially call into the sacred time today Herb Tyson, Liz's father-in-law, who passed away yesterday and whose life brightened this world and Liz's life. He is part of the cloud of witnesses who blesses this gathering with his love which lives on far beyond his life. This afternoon, as we gather to witness, to love, to affirm, and to rejoice in this sacred call to ministry, we light this chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, for all we have ever been and all we have ever loved, for all that we will be, and for all that we will love. In joy, in hope, in remembrance, in gratitude, and in blessing, we are gathered here.
This afternoon, we offer a blessing for religious leaders, for the work of lay people in religious life, those whose lives preach without words, who tend the gardens, the children, the committees, the covenantal relationships that extend beyond church walls and Sunday mornings, who make a damn good cup of coffee and throw a great reception, feeding both our bodies and our souls.
For the work of ordained Unitarian Universalist ministers, those who companion people on life's journeys as chaplains, who support patients and families in hospitals, who tend to our congregations, whose ministry shows up in protests and conference calls and court accompaniment.
For the work of clergy of all religious and spiritual communities, those who facilitate daily, weekly, yearly and life cycle rituals, who draw deeply from and wrestle with their traditions, who live true to their ethics as role models of compassion and integrity, who organize within and across religious communities for social justice.
May we all, lay leaders, UU ministers, and all clergy, balance a robust life of engagement with a robust inner life.
May all of us continue to live a life of learning and discovery.
May all of us enjoy collaboration within and beyond our own tradition.
May all of us care for our bodies.
May all of us feel connected to the natural world and nourished by the earth.
And may all of us know and feel that our work is sacred and valuable. And let us say, Amen.
Good afternoon. Thank you. It is no surprise to any of us that our beloved Liz, with her great heart and her true dedication to social justice, chose two funds to share the offering today. The first is the Living Traditions Fund, which was established by the Unitarian Universalist Association in 1988. This fund provides three types of support for ministry: needs-based scholarships for students who've completed a full year of theological education, new minister assistance to reduce the burden of high educational debt, emergency assistance to seminarians, ministers, religious professionals, and other congregational staff, retired ministers, and their loved ones. Liz shared with me that she chose the Living Tradition Fund both because it's traditional for ordinations and because she is personally grateful to have received support from the fund during her formation. It was, she said, essential. Liz also chose our Deaf Survivors Center, which is a sexual and domestic violence agency created and maintained by and for the deaf community. Our deaf survivors serve survivors all over the state with legal and medical advocacy, as well as peer-to-peer support, works with the deaf community on anti-violence initiatives, and equips local domestic violence and legal agencies to provide culturally and linguistically accessible services to deaf survivors. Liz told me she chose ODSC as a way to give back to the deaf community, which has given her so much as an interpreter and as a person, and because it's unique and vital to the community, the first and only organization of its kind in Massachusetts. And now, please give as generously as you can. The offering will now be received.
In Montgomery and in Selma and the streets of Birmingham, people sent a message to the leaders of the land. We have fought and we have suffered, but we know the wrong from right. We are family, we are neighbors, we are black and we are white. Here I go, bound for freedom, name my truth, take the lead. Now not the Congress, not the millionaire, but me. I will organize for justice. I will raise my voice in song, and our children will be free to lead the world and carry on. From a cell in Pennsylvania, nor under on death row, for me I had the courage to expose the evil show. From the courtroom to the boardroom, in the television's glare, how the greedy live off poor and hungry people everywhere. Here I go, bound for freedom. May my truth take the lead. Not the preacher, not the Congress, not the millionaire, but me. I will organize for justice. I will raise my voice in song, and our children will be free to lead the world and carry on. Here I go, though I'm standing on my own. I remember those before me, and I know I'm not alone. I will organize for justice. I will raise my voice in song, and our children will be free to lead the world and carry on. From the streets of New York City, across the ocean and beyond, people from all nations create a common bond. With our conscience as our weapon, we are witness to the fall. We are simple, we are brilliant, we are one and we are all. Here I go, bound for freedom. May my truth take the lead. Not the teacher, not the Congress, not the millionaire, but me. I will organize for justice. I will raise my voice in song, and our children will be free to lead the world and carry on. Here I go, though I'm standing on my own. I remember those before me, and I know I'm not alone. I will organize for justice. I will raise my voice in song, and our children will be free to lead the world and carry on.
This is for my small mountain, Liz, and in the shining memory of Katie Tyson. Here's what they say. They say, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. They say it at the worst moments, and they say it so often that we might be tempted to believe it, but it's not true. I know it's not true, and Liz, you, more than most of us, you know it's not true. The truth is, what doesn't kill us doesn't kill us. Today on your ordination day, I want to talk about this and talk about what is true. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger is just some kind of rationalization, justification for pain or suffering. Sometimes what doesn't kill us breaks us. We've all known plenty of people who have experienced a kind of pain from which they never healed, who suffered and were undone. I'm thinking of my friend Jim, who came home from Vietnam and has never, ever been able to sleep inside again. His little dog, Wendy, sleeps with him wherever he beds down, never under bridges, he says, but under trees or by water or someplace he can see the stars. Jim has a safety net of people to whom he's endeared himself, a doc at the VA, a veterinarian he met on the street, some folks at Star Market. He can't talk about what happened. He can't talk much, actually. But once when he and Wendy were resting by my car in the alley, someone darted out into a barely moving Arlington Street traffic jam and was just nicked by a car. Jim came and got me terribly frightened. The person was okay. Jim wasn't okay. His eyes hollowed out, and we sat together as he shook for the better part of an hour. What didn't kill Jim didn't make him stronger. It just didn't kill him. I would like it to be true that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And that's where you come in, Liz. What I know is that you know what it means to be shattered and remade. What it means to choose to live anyway and to rebuild courage and strength for a new relationship with life and the living. I know some of how you made it out, a phoenix rising from the ashes, how it is that you have shown up today, the culmination of years of showing up and stepping up into spiritual leadership. Of all the good you have done and will do in your ministry, this may be at the heart of it all. That you can say to someone who is suffering, I know. And when you say, I know, they will be compelled to see you, to really see you, and perhaps to find it in themselves to choose to go on for one more day, one more hour, knowing that they are not alone. Years ago, my friend Susan Moran, our colleague serving the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Rockport, sustained a brain injury in a bike accident. Not long afterward, her husband went out for a run and died of a massive heart attack, leaving Susan with 2 young children. And then her best friend was diagnosed with ALS. And then Susan was diagnosed with the same aggressive breast cancer that killed her mother. It's hard to imagine, but actually this was just the beginning of a spate of soul-searing crises. Susan survived on a death-defying sense of humor, family and friends, and her church, who held and upheld her through it all. And one day, just when we couldn't imagine that things could get more dire, I visited and found her elated. She told me she'd learned that biblical scholars had a new theory about the story of Job. Specifically, that the first 2 chapters were originally a standalone story. The following chapters were a later addition by a different author. So you remember the story. Job is the wealthiest man in the land with a loving wife, 7 sons, 3 daughters thrown in for good measure. And then somebody's twisted idea of God makes a deal with the devil and decides to test Job, and his terrible suffering is that by which generations measured all suffering. I was ecstatic at Susan's news because one of the most offensive and unbearable part of Job's story is that his friends turn out not to be friends at all, quickly devolving into the category of, with friends like these, who needs enemies? But all that happens after the first 2 chapters. So here's that final beautiful passage at the close of chapter 2, the end. When Job's 3 friends heard all about these calamities that had befallen him, each came from his own house, Eliphaz and Bildad and Zophar. They went together to go and mourn with him and comfort him. And when they saw him from a distance, they could not recognize him, and they broke into loud weeping. Each one tore his own robe and threw dust into his hair. No one spoke a word to him, for they saw how great was his suffering. And they sat down with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights. Suddenly, we read the story in a whole new way. It turns out that Job's friends tell a lot about what it means to be a true friend. What doesn't kill us doesn't kill us, but those who love us can make us stronger. 2 years ago, a 23-year-old Bentley University graduate named Jillian Harpin was working as a financial analyst and had set her sights on finishing a series of 50 area hikes by summer's end. I was so excited for my future, she says, I felt like I had it all. And then on a week-long vacation to Mexico, Jillian was sitting on the railing of a third-floor balcony, lost her balance, and fell backwards. When she woke up in a Miami hospital, she could not feel her legs. Her father was standing in front of her, sobbing. She looked at him and said, Dad, it's going to be okay. I'm still Jillian. I'm still here. I've got my head. I've got my hands. It'll be okay. Nonetheless, Jillian says, everything seemed impossible after the accident. I thought I had this broken body and that I would never be okay, she says. How to imagine the months of grueling physical therapy, of relearning everything, only seated and without the use of her legs. Jillian says, I really just had to reinvent how my life was going to look. It wasn't over. And with this extraordinary affirmation, her healing began. What is true is that sometimes what doesn't kill us breaks us open in a way we don't even recognize ourselves when all is said and done. It's not the path we would have chosen or who we would have chosen to be, but there we are, broken, open, irrevocably changed. And sometimes, if we're very, very lucky, we're stronger. Nowadays, Jillian Harpin cycles in half marathons, plays adaptive basketball, and climbs on the rock wall at the local gym. It took a long time to get here. She says, I had to find strength I didn't know I had. I had to learn not to dwell on what could have been. I had to stay motivated and not feel sorry for myself. And here it comes. She had a circle of family and friends that never left her side, cheered her on, never gave up, and never let her give up. They held my hand throughout it all, she says. I am where I am today because of the support system that was right there from the beginning. Now I'm going to live the life I'm lucky enough to have. Oh, that circle of family and friends, that beloved community of memory and hope that remembers our strength when we forget it and reminds us when we need it most. They are, we are for each other what stands between despair and hope, between the farthest reaches of hell and some kind of hold on earth, what stands for us when we cannot stand for ourselves and sometimes just sits with us. Liz, today you are ordained to our ministry to serve this vision of the beloved spiritual community and to keep the faith. Your ministry was forged in the fire of suffering, and you are a small mountain. I know you will never forget those who held you and helped to heal you. We are all a part of you. Our devotion, our love for you is yours to pass on. In your healing ministry, it will pass through you and be a blessing on every person whose life your life touches. I love you. Amen.
From the moment you're born, with every beat of your heart, There's an endless flow of love, and you know each of us is a part. When you wake in the morn and you see the sun rise, drawing strength from the love and the light from above, then you realize it begins with the heart. When you answer love's call, and the reason we give and the reason we live is for the heart of it all. Every road that you choose, every path that you take, every day, every night, how you live your life is a choice that you make. Every heart that you lift, every burden you ease, every hand that you hold, are the ways that your soul helps the world find peace. It begins with the heart. When you answer love's call, and the reason we give and the reason we live is for the heart of it all. I don't know if the answer can ever be found, but the justice we seek and the truth that we speak are our common ground. In that moment of truth, we must answer the call. Go wherever love goes, letting everyone know it's for the heart of it all. And it begins with the heart. When you answer love's call, and the reason we give and the reason we live is for the heart of it all. It begins with the heart. When you answer love's call, and the reason we give and the reason we live is for the heart of it all. And the reason we give and the reason we live is for the heart of it all.
I invite us into a few moments of sacred silence.
Our two congregations have come together to ordain Liz. For in our Unitarian Universalist tradition, ordination is an act of the people. The authority to confer ordination lies solely with congregations. As well, ordination is an act of covenant. This ordination will forever bind Liz to Unitarian Universalism and to these congregations, and it will bind us to each other and to our faith.
Liz, you have completed seminary studies, served as congregational intern and hospital chaplain intern, and received the affirmation of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. Now, in this sacred moment, by the authority of our two congregations, we wish to offer you ordination. Liz, are you ready to accept the mantle of ordained ministry?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go.
Good. Sometimes you just need a moment to get ready.
Arlington Street Church has been your congregation since 2005. Here you grew from college student to young professional to confident adult. You were a lay leader with us, and you began here to sense a call to ordained ministry. We supported you in your discernment and formation, encouraging you to heed the call. Liz, we recognize you as a minister. We call you forth from our ranks to be ordained.
The Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading was your teaching congregation. Here you grew from seminary student to ministerial intern to confident minister. You learned from us and with us, and you helped us through our own ministerial transition. We supported you in the final stages of your formation, encouraging you to claim your ministerial authority. Liz, we recognize you as a minister. We send you forth from our ranks to be ordained. Will the members of these two congregations please rise in body and spirit to ordain Liz? With great joy, we ordain you, Elizabeth Louise Weber, to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Among us, in hospital rooms, and everywhere you serve, we charge you to minister to us, young and old, in our joys and our sorrows, through each and lovingly preach truth in our joy. And live covenants of our faith.
Oh, is it my turn? With great joy and humility, I accept your charge and I take up this ministry to which you ordain me.
Will all who are gathered please rise in body, rise in spirit to bless this ordination. Liz, we have journeyed with you thus far and will support you in years to come. With joy and pride, we affirm your application. May your ministry nourish you, and may it be a source of love, justice, and healing in our world.
You guys.
May it be so. Welcome, Liz.
According to the 1867 Universalist Liturgy for the Ordination of Candidates, this building is built not for microphones. According to the 1867 Liturgy for the Ordination of Candidates for the ministry, now becomes my role to lead the inquest. If there is any reason that anyone here knows... We're not doing that?
We're not doing that.
And it's too late. And it's too late.
Liz had 2 sequential supervising mentors for her parish internship. She was brave to sign up for this, arriving in the 2nd year of my interim ministry at the UU Church of Reading and expecting to remain for her own 2nd year with someone yet to be named. Hank and I are different. In many ways. We colleagues learn from each other no matter how early or late we are on the path of ministry, or what our crisscrossing and interwoven roles may be. All 3 of us have benefited from the shifting constellation of Liz's ministerial internship. We are honored that Liz has asked the 2 of us to bear witness and lead this moment where she makes her commitments to ministry. Liz, you've chosen to take your vows of ordination in a moment connected to, but distinct from, the moment of ordination. You've asked us to lead you in taking these vows, which you yourself have written.
Liz, do you vow to practice love, to be open to God who is love, and to bring more love into our world?
I do.
You should stand in the middle.
I should stand in the middle.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So I can lean in real close. And Liz, do you vow to practice justice and follow the lead of the most marginalized people and to interrupt systems of oppression?
I do.
Do you vow to practice service, to use your power with care, and to pastor, preach, and teach with integrity?
I do.
Do you vow to practice wholeheartedness, to honor our interwoven wholeness and brokenness, to minister with your whole self, and to tend to your wholeness by living a balanced life?
I do.
May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
So now she's really and truly ordained.
I'm ordained and committed.
And committed.
I have a shadow named John. Friends, it is time. It is time to bring not only your hearts and not only your minds and not only your spirits and psyches and aura, if you have that going on, but to bring our bodies, to make sacred this moment, to codify and solidify it, embody this blessing of Elizabeth Louise Weber as ordained minister. Sung earlier were these words, "Here I go, though I'm standing on my own. I remember those before me, and I know I'm not alone." Here is our chance to enflesh the reminder to Liz that as she ministers and chaplains, truth tells and provides solace, watches from balconies, and facilitates connection, she is never, ever alone. The laying on of hands is both ancient tradition and a modern one for Unitarian Universalists. There are those who will say it was not common to do this thing for clergy back in the day, perhaps a score of years ago. And then there are those who remind us that there are traditions from which we are sourced, that this practice of laying on of hands to empower leaders, and particularly to connect clergy with ancestors that came before, has been ours. And it is in this spirit that we acknowledge so many ancestors, none known and unknown, who make this day possible. And in this spirit, we affirm mentors, loved and loving, who helped grow and clarify Liz's gifts. And in particular, and with sadness at his loss and joy for having known him, I raise up Liz's mentor, Dennis Coakley. And in particular, and with gratitude resounding, we raise up the deaf and interpreting communities and all the Unitarian Universalist congregations that have witnessed Liz, Dayton, and Andover Newton, and Reading, and this place. So this is our precious chance to be taken every time we can to make sensible the interconnected web of all existence, of our existence. And it is our powerful opportunity to take this responsibility and make real and true the ordination of a minister in our tradition. And it is our cherished chance to remind Liz and ourselves that our faithful aspirations are power with, not power over. So in a moment, I will invite us to create concentric sacred circles, and really, if I'm telling the truth, they're going to be sacred amoeba-like shapes around Liz. Loving layers of embodied blessing, stretching hands and arms and elbows that we touch and be touched, and will be in connection with each other in the fullness of life. First, and not yet, I will invite Liz's family, family by birth, family by choice, all family of heart, to circle around Liz and to lay their hands upon her. And then professional religious leaders to come forward and for them to lay their hands as close as possible. And then members of the two ordaining congregations laying their hands again closer and closer. This will mean you will be rising and coming forward as your body allows. And then anyone and everyone else laying hands upon laying bodies upon other hands, but not quite yet. For first, we are going to hear a song that is our accompanying musical prayer.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
Will Liz's family come forward and lay your hands upon this sacred soul? Will the religious professionals, ministers, directors of religious education, music leaders come forward and lay your hands? And now will the members of the two ordaining congregations, Arlington Street Church and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading, come forward. Lay your hands on someone laying their hands on somebody, you know what I mean. And those beloved here and not yet named, please come forward and add your laying on of hands witness to make us whole. Spirit of life and love, known by many names, spoken, whispered, signed, shouted, sung. Move through these hands and arms and elbows and all the places we touch, our clumsy, devoted embodiment of the connection that is your essence and our very nature. Beloveds, I affirm out loud to you today, there is a love holding us all. And Liz, there is a love holding you now. And we, your family and friends, your colleagues and admirers, ancestors known and unknown, we invite you to rest in this love, invite you to perceive and receive this prayer. Come home. Come back. Come to your senses. Come to yourself. Come to your whole and holy self. Know yourself as the same you have ever been, and know yourself made new. Know yourself ordained into ministry by this motley crew of perfectly imperfect people. A people affirming that your small light is not small, has never been small. A people calling you to uncover it. A people calling you to let it shine, to let your dancing heart dance. In times of great joy, in days of grinding fatigue, hours of pernicious doubt, moments of blessed clarity, in flashes of unlikely arrogance, and episodes of unbidden loneliness, may you rest in the love embodied here, expressed now, visible and invisible, felt close and from far away, always true, always abiding, always, always available. Come home. Come back. Come to your senses. Come to yourself. come to your whole and holy self. And let the people say, Amen. As you move back, let us sing the song and the prayer.
There is a love. There is a love holding me. Yes. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all, holding all. We rest in this love. There is a love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. We rest. We rest in this love. We rest. We rest in this love.
Layperson. This stole embodies Liz's roots, her lifelong Unitarian Universalist story. It was lovingly crafted by Ann Snively, a member of the Miami Valley UU Fellowship in Dayton, Ohio, where Liz spent her childhood. The orange ribbon is from a Heartland District Youth Con where Liz started her path as a leader. The front blue fabric is from Nepal, where Liz traveled to last year for a conference of Unitarians and UUs from around the world. It was blessed by the conference's Young Adult Circle and represents her time in young adult communities. Liz's alma mater, Andover Newton Theological School, is symbolized by blue and purple suede. And then the green fabric represents this church, Arlington Street Church, where she heard the call for ministry, and today where we gather for her ordination. Borrowing from the mission statement of the Old Continental Unitarian Universalist Young Adult Network, Liz, we ask you to remember when you wear this stole, you have your feet firmly in your roots while your ministry strives to be radically inclusive, spiritually alive, and justice-centered to transform Unitarian Universalism and the world. So we have one surprise stole.
think you've been voted on. Elizabeth, as we call her at home, with her instructions. Elizabeth didn't know until 3 days ago that we had commissioned a stole for her. We commissioned it. It was inspired by a meadow near our home that Elizabeth visits whenever she can. It was created by Diane Dover, a member of our Miami Valley UU Fellowship, who watched Elizabeth grow up, and whose son Andrew was one of Elizabeth's first preschool RE students. Yeah. Elizabeth, the depth of your connection to nature and to your Midwestern roots have nurtured your spirituality throughout your life. May the beauty of the earth and sky, the changing seasons of sun and rain, your love of animals and trees sustain you all your life. May the wearing of this stole remind you always that seeds bloom in their own time and that renewal follows cleansing fire. May you be blessed throughout your ministry by the ever-living Spirit, dancing within and around all, by the abiding love of your family, by the wise counsel of mentors and colleagues, and by the loving hearts and hands of friends. May your ministry bring healing to our hurting world and fulfillment and much joy to your heart.
So Liz, it's my honor to present to you a stole from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading. And it's particularly fun for me to be up here with you because I've been able to accompany you on some pretty important parts of your journey to ordination. As your Dean of Students, as your professor, as a member of your intern committee, and then as its chair, I've seen you go through this journey. As a student, you were always committed to ministry. You sought out opportunities to expand your experiences so that you could be as thoroughly prepared as you could be. And your commitment to social justice and the church, with all its promises and failures and foibles, was always clear. And you brought those same characteristics with you into your life as an intern in our congregation. You sought out opportunities for growth, you listened carefully to feedback, and you wowed us with your skills and abilities. So this stole, as you know, is patterned on a pulpit cloth that often hangs in the UUCR. And you told me that when you first saw that pulpit cloth, you thought, wow, would that ever be cool to have that pattern on a stole? Well, and here it is. And the artists who made it, they took this challenge to heart, and they looked through their fabric to find the most vibrant colors they could find. So different, but yet so beautiful together. And they too thought that this was a wonderful stole to represent the UUCR because our congregation is so different and yet so wonderful together. Now, I'm getting there. Hang on. So there's a panel in this stole with the names of those who created it. And as I read your names, would you stand if you're here? Molly Bicking, Lynn Champion, Kitty Craig Coleman, Rachel Fetters, Diane Joe, and Suzanne Sullivan. Thank you all. Now, one of the unique characteristics of this stole is that you asked that 2 pockets be sewn into the stole. One on this side for the microphone, and one on this side for things like Kleenex and chapstick. And I also added some Tylenol, either because you have a particular challenge with a sermon some morning. Actually, I doubt that that will ever happen because you're such a gifted preacher.
Oh, it's happened.
I think the Tylenol will remain in the stole for a very long time. But Liz, please know that as I bestow this stole on you, please don't drop our stole, okay? As I bestow this stole on you, with it comes the love and appreciation and admiration of the UUCR, and also our firm belief that Unitarian Universalism is better today than it was yesterday, because today we have you as a new minister. Congratulations.
Liz, Reverend. Reverend Liz. You've heard that story about Peter and James having a meeting with Paul and Barnabas. Heard that story? And they gave the right hand of fellowship. That's the story. And the question which has puzzled us for millennia is, what was that meeting all about? Was it sort of like an examination? Like a ministerial fellowship committee? Were they meeting to discern whether Paul and Barnabas had gifts for ministry and had read the books?
They did.
That was possible. That was a story. The other possibility is that Peter and James were acting sort of like bishops or district superintendents, if you're a Universalist. And they were going to dispatch Paul and Barnabas to a particular ministry out there somewhere. You go there and like that. That would be a possibility. And the third possibility is it was sort of like they were just simply saying, hi, welcome to the ministry. Welcome to our community of ministries. And that's the way we kind of interpret it. Whatever happened to the MFC, and you've done that.
You saw me, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I shook your hand then. So, if it's a welcoming to the community of ministry, we have to establish that the ministers form a community. And it's a community of ministry. Each individual minister, you, have gifts that are unique and special to you. And every other minister has gifts that are unique and special to them. And together, we enrich each other and share each other and empower each other, as long as we don't go off with our own little gifts and do our own little thing, but learn from all those other gifts and all those other unique ministries that are there. And you will discover, if you haven't already discovered, and you've been doing ministry, so you probably know this already. Yeah, I know that. Every person that you meet in ministry, every person that you minister to, has already been ministered to by somebody. And you know that could be a blessing, a wonderful blessing, and it could be a burden. Could be. Just saying. So what we work toward in this community ministry is to have every ministry a blessing. Every ministry. And we call that accountability and holding each other and being with each other in ministry. So I welcome you to our community of ministry, Liz, Reverend Liz. And may your ministry be a special blessing to us all.
Liz, you are the sweetest person in the world. You are compassionate, sympathetic, and open to new ideas. As a great listener, you work to understand who people are and what they need. You know how to talk to people to make them feel okay when things are hard. You are responsive and available to people, not one to instantly judge a person on what they say or do. We have seen you grow more confident and more open with us. You have greater empathy, and your confidence helps you to connect more people. You are good at helping people through their pain.
There is so much hate in the world, and people struggle with awful feelings. People's openness to disagreement these days is very low. The poor and those in poverty are not getting the help they need. You, Reverend Liz, are approachable. You understand people and know who they are. You love what you do, and others can tell. You answer with compassion when someone asks for ministerial help. You are passionate about issues like equality, and you demonstrate unbelievable kindness.
We hope you will go to those in pain, those who are not getting all they need. We hope you keep saying what you believe, whether others agree or not. We hope you minister in the street. We hope you minister with youth. Those in need will know from the first impression that you will stay with them. Go with your compassion, your kindness, and find those you can help. Find again those who will love you as we do.
The first time I met Liz was back in 2007 when she was one of the leaders of the young adult group right here at Arlington Street Church. I had volunteered to co-plan worship with her, and even though we had never met. I was the young upstart, let's be clear, still in college, just moved to Boston. She was the seasoned leader. Not only done with school, but with a full-time job in her field. I thought she was such an adult. Over the next few years, Liz became a mentor to me in young adult ministry, then a friend, and now a colleague. Given where we started, It feels like a bit of a role reversal for me to be giving you a charge today, Liz. Reverend Liz. We haven't said that enough. But it occurred to me that there's actually a few things from that initial meeting that relate to what I want to remind you of in this charge.
You're so clever.
First, remember your roots. Now, I wanted you to be wearing them around your neck, but you didn't give in to wearing all the stoles. That's okay. They're down there. We can put them around your neck later. Now, the only thing I remember about the worship we planned that day, other than I'm sure it was fabulous, was that we used a line that your childhood minister used to say every week. Like me, you grew up as a Unitarian Universalist, which means both that you know all about the flaws of our faith and that this faith is a home in a way that no other can be. Especially as you take on the role of a chaplain where you will be working with people of all different religious traditions, remember where you came from. Remember the tradition in which you are rooted. Remember the people who loved you into this ministry, especially when ministry feels hard. Remember the ways in which Unitarian Universalism has fed you, sustained you, and helped you to grow over the years. Remember why you stayed in this faith, even when so many you grew up with left. Remember your roots. Second, remember that your ministry, I'm sorry if I'm the first to break this to you, but your ministry will never be perfect. But Liz, it will be enough. You and I have planned many worships together since that first time, and our biggest challenge has always been that we are both overachieving perfectionists. How else do you end up with a worship in which each person gets an entire handmade book as part of the service? You can ask Liz about that one sometime. Now, one thing you all may or may not know about Liz, and I hope it's okay to reveal this, is that when she eats rice, she literally eats every single grain of rice. Have you ever tried to do that? It is not easy. When she is done, that bowl is perfectly clean. Now, here's the thing about ministry. Perfect doesn't exist. As you well know, ministry to people who are struggling or grieving, and you'll be doing a lot of that as a chaplain, means that nothing you do will ever feel like enough. Never. And the reality of our broken world is that it's true. There is always more ministry to be done. You don't get a clean bowl in ministry. It's all about working with people, after all, and people are messy. And so there will always be a few grains of rice left, maybe a whole clump, maybe even some squished up tofu or an awkward amount of sauce. But the other truth here, Liz, because there's always more than one truth, is that while your ministry won't be perfect, and it may never feel like you are doing enough, you are enough, just as you are. And I know you forget that sometimes, so I'm actually going to say it again. Remember, your ministry will never be perfect, but you are enough, just as you are. And that brings me to the last reminder, that you cannot do ministry alone. You know this already. That's why I say it's a reminder. The reason that you and I were paired up to plan that worship 11 years ago is that one of the rules of young adult leadership development, as I learned it, is that in young adult ministry, you never do anything alone, right? The wisdom of this is about more than just creating new leaders. It also speaks to one of the core tenets of our faith, the certainty that we need one another. This doesn't become any less true now that you've got that fancy reverend in front of your name. If anything, it's more true than ever. It is often said that ministry is lonely work. There's truth in that, and it's really only lonely if you try to do it all alone. Don't fall into that trap. The life-saving part of our faith is not about independence. It's about interdependence. It's knowing that there is a love that holds us all. So find your people, the ones who will support you and sustain you, the ones who will rejoice with you when ministry is beautiful, the ones who will laugh with you when ministry is absurd, and the ones who will hold you as you cry when ministry breaks your heart. Look out now. I think some of those people might be here in this room. As you look at their faces, remember, we need one another. None of us can do this work alone. Reverend Liz, you already know that the work of ministry is much like the rest of life, full of joy and sorrow, moments of deep connection and love, and moments of heart-wrenching despair. Through it all, remember these three things. Remember your roots, embodied in the stole you're not wearing. Sorry. It's okay. Remember, though you won't be perfect, you are enough. And remember that you do not need to do it all alone. Remember, there are hands to hold you up when you falter, shoulders to cry on, friends to help you laugh when you need it most, and companions on this journey of faith and love. May you always know it to be so. Amen.
I think we sing now, right? Let's rise in body, rise in spirit, and sing our recessional hymn, in which the clergy recession basically do what Hank says.
Do you want me to read the thing that you wrote?
What? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot you were doing this for me. Thank you so much, Mark David.
That's fine. Our recessional hymn is Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. Reverend Gene Navius refashioned this old Methodist hymn into our Unitarian Universalist version for Reverend Kim's installation here at Arlington Street Church. Gene served several congregations and was minister emeritus here, but his larger legacy is 3 decades shaping our Unitarian Universalist religious education. He also had great influence on our music and was one of our first out gay ministers. Liz has chosen this hymn with gratitude for Gene and his impact on her life, from her childhood Sunday school experience to paving the way for her as an out queer minister. The words are printed in your order of service. You'll notice the lines, see the lion and the lambkin dwell together in their home, which the hymnal commissioned changed, but which we'll sing today. You already risen in body and spirit, so let's sing together.
Sorry, thank you.
I need my music as well. All right. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's perfection fill our hearts with joy and love. Teach us ever to be faithful, may we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the lamb can dwell together in thy home. Hear the cry of war fall silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves in union, help our hands tell of our love. With thine aid, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's join hands for the benediction across the aisle as you feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable, you can just put your hand on your heart. My beloveds, my beloveds, may wonder and gratitude come to you easily. And when grief and anger arrive at your door, may you welcome them in too. May your hunger for justice spur you onwards. May your hearts and hands open wider and wider to hold it all. And most of all, may love comfort and surround you. And may your love overflow from your heart out into our world. My love, my gratitude go with you always. Bless your hearts. Amen, and blessed be.
Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.